Hi, Priyanka. How have you been?
Very well, and now welcome to People's Cafe Expert Panel, Abhijeet. So, looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, I'm excited to be there. Some of the content I keep reading and listening is amazing. I'm extremely excited. Extremely excited. So thank you
And
for starting something as fresh as People's Cafe. And of course, I love coffee. So yeah, excited again.
thank you so much, and thank you for accepting the invitation to be part of our panel. And for the benefit of audience, I would just like to introduce our new series titled "Expert Panel from People's Cafe." Well, they say, when in doubt, ask the experts. So here we are, happy to be launching the expert panel because we believe what's better than hearing it from the experts who've been there and done it all. So you can expect to hear from our panel of experts on things that matter in the world of corporate, in your career and your business. So here we are going to be having trending talks on future of workplace, digital marketing, wellness, technology, and so much more. Today we have with us Mr. Abhijeet Roy, and the topic for our conversation today is going to be on designing a pandemic proof workplace. So, before we dive into the conversation, really, just to set context, well, the ongoing pandemic has sent businesses really racing to redesign their offices in order to meet the new health requirements and respond to a workforce which, of course, has a heightened concern for health and wellness. So now it's no more just about keeping your desks 6 feet apart or putting barriers between them. It's all about new air filters and signage, which are routing people, and high tech products, which were really seen as optional until now. Things like ultraviolet lights to disinfect surfaces, and how do we use elevators without pushing any buttons. And these are just some of the gadgets which are sort of defining the standard norms of safety today. So, in view of all this, COVID 19 has fundamentally changed how offices look and operate. And despite the costs involved, worker well being is driving the transformation of facilities, really. We've seen a new emergence, new model of co-working where we're talking about distributed home offices for remote working, and the emergence of satellite offices as well. So we believe that workplace design is well on its way to really become an important agenda in boardrooms. So today we have with us Mr. Abhijeet Roy, who is a corporate administration and facilities management leader with 15 years of experience. And he holds extensive experience in infrastructure and supply chain management, having led large scale global administration functions such as facilities management, real estate services, logistics management, material management, and vendor development. So Abhijit has served at leadership roles in various organizations such as Yes Bank, Direct Eye, and he currently leads the Department of Facilities and Administration at Fractal Analytics. Abhijit has a keen interest in developing inclusive business framework with specific focus on end user experience and sustainability. So Abhijit, welcome aboard again. And to open up the conversation, really, what do you see as the current trends evolving in the space of workplace design for safety and well-being?
So Priyanka, firstly, thanks again for getting me on board. The introduction was magnanimous. It doesn't really sound like me, but thank you for
You're
the
being
wonderful
humble.
introduction. Oh, well, thank you again. Um, Coming back to the question, Priyanka, uh, question specific question that you have is what is going on with the workplace design? I mean, so to say, right? I mean, it's a new buzzword, or at least has been the new buzzword for the last 8 or 9 months. Right? Um, I think world over, the model has now been standardized, right? Where initially there were leaders, very mature organizations who would be, the front runners in making certain amends, getting a certain way to work, envisaging, what it's going to be in the future. I think now it has been a template. Now I think we have the right template. I think most of the points you've already mentioned, having the right kind of indoor air, right, where you are having UVC filters. If you're not having a UVC filter, you have something known as a bipolar point that you were mentioning.
Yeah.
I think now we have a very set template, and not just for matured organizations, but also for SMEs, right? In fact, a lot of startups too, right? Understand what exactly need to be done. So something which are very crucial, let me just point them out. And then if there are some niches that we need to speak about, we can expound on them. So the bare essentials, point one remains the HVAC, the indoor air quality, of course, because that can break or make things, as many might imagine, right? There is still an ongoing debate with the WHO to confirm whether, this is airborne or not. WHO did confirm that this is airborne, that the coronavirus could be airborne, but the sample set again is too small to determine yes, a definite yes or no. Ongoing debates going, just yet to confirm. Having said that, HVACs, many vendors, many manufacturers now know how to solve this problem. Uh, a ultraviolet C type of light, with a certain frequency, can actually, kill this virus at for a certain space, for a certain distance. There are other add-ons, which are bipolar plasma ionization techniques that have been proved to, kind of create a certain shield, against this virus. So those kind of broadly remain the two appendages that can, help create a good indoor air quality. Apart from that,
No
yeah.
worries.
Having said that, uh, uh, fresh air, right? The air quality in itself is being spoken about. Maintaining a right air quality at home or in your office, is extremely important. WHO recommends the ASHRAE, right, which is the American standard for the heating, ventilation, recirculation. They mention that. REVA from the UK, ISHRAE from India recommends a high intake of fresh air, cycling input. That will be a standard template now going forward. Air purifiers, air purification, all those would be are standard and will be standard templates across all offices. Apart from that, stopping of recirculation of air or reducing the recirculation of air, would again be be something that will go as a standard. So something in HVACs, I think we are maintaining about, these particular templates. And I think this should be able to solve your problem, or uh, create the confidence for the end user to come back to work. That's one. The other definitely is the 6 feet distance. I think this is inevitable. This will be a standard. This will continue to be a standard going forward. Maintaining a 6 feet distance, wearing of masks, detecting of masks through technology, through certain CCTVs, through certain, attendance monitoring systems, they will all be quite standard, right? Very importantly, real-time understanding of hygiene checks, right, through technology will are actually being carried out as we speak in many organizations, and will be a necessary implementation for a lot of organizations and a lot of workplaces. A lot of people are now going to be very cognizant and demanding of the hygiene checks. What are the hygiene checks? How are the hygiene checks happening? So giving a very transparent picture is going to be the part of it. Transportation, again, is seeing a lot of disruption in terms of when was the last hygiene check done? What is the current health status of the driver? When was the driver last checked for, an RT-PCR, etc.? All those things are going to be a demand from the end user, and those information has to be real time and transparent. So these are some changes. Of course, there are way more changes in terms of design. You will see um, a, a, a disruption in the philosophy of how we have designed offices, right? Typically, many non-IT firms, so to say, have always maintained a more denser workforce in a workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
That will change. IT companies, which necessarily do not need, or media companies, or creative companies who do not need a lot of workforce and a lot of high density workforce in a workplace, will probably create more neighborhoods, right? Where collaboration. I personally see office to be a space of collaboration primarily. That's
Mm-hmm.
the main purpose, and I would say 80% of the purpose of the office in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That is how offices would be designed. So you would find a lot of in a design language, so to say, neighborhood choice environments,
Mm-hmm.
where you would have, where the main purpose is to solve problems for collaboration, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be large meetings, it could be small meetings, it could be agile meetings, it could be random meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Having personalized desks might or might not be, the way of the future. I personally foresee it to be more of, paper use, or, use as you go kind of a feature. Hot desking again is becoming a standard, a way of life, and I see that to be a consistent way of life going in future. Again, work from home is a debatable topic if it's going to remain forever or not,
Mm-hmm.
but you will definitely see some reduction. We will expound on this one as we speak or dwell on further topics that I think you will have for me. But this is all my take. I hope I was able to add value to your question.
Yes, yes, certainly. So with all of these complexities now, Abhijit, that you called out, and this is definitely going to need the organization to sort of re-engineer their very way of functioning physically. So, my next question is about what challenges from specific industries do you foresee in the times of pandemic? And you briefly touched upon, for example, the IT industry versus media. So, uh, do you foresee some industries specifically struggling with certain challenges?
Um, yes, yes. So currently, also, having led corporate estate, or there are different school of thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
that each type of industry would abide to. Some functions probably I'd assume to be banking, or the backend banking. Uh, I personally do not see them being too efficient with the work from home feature.
Okay.
Uh, they would struggle, or they would probably uh, not be very efficient with the work from home model.
Mm-hmm.
They need a lot of people to kind of connect almost on a real time basis within the space to get things moving. But for the IT industry specifically, I do not uh, foresee work from home to be a challenge. So just to give you an insight, you being from the HR side of the work, uh, uh, recruitment has become a lot more open these days, right? You
Mm-hmm.
find more people from more cities, and possibly in the future, not even from your own country. You might not need them.
Yeah.
That avenue has opened up. The
Mm-hmm.
avenue of virtual induction, the avenue of bringing them all together, right, has opened up. So all those are new for IT companies specifically. You need that. What you are, what you really care about is the skill set, and of course the culture fit with the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that has actually opened up, and surprisingly, you find a lot more people. So that way, for IT, I do not foresee a challenge. However, I do not again see 100% workforce going on a work from home. Uh, Collaboration is the key to to innovation, and random collaboration rather, right? There are many YouTube videos, there are many TED talks, that kind of illustrate this, that random collaboration is the key to spontaneous innovation, which is the backbone of the IT industry. So I think while work from home will be more available, by choice, it might not really be adopted or adapted,
Mm.
to the extent that one would think. So people would want to randomly collaborate. People would
Mhm.
want to, kind of have the random coffee point conversations, right?
Mhm.
So, I don't really see this to be a problem for the IT industry.
Okay.
Coming to the more creative side of it, I personally foresee a challenge there. Collaboration, whiteboarding is something that
Mm.
is more physical in nature. It's more the energy is more physical. The
Mhm.
energy is more proximal, right? So uh, that way, uh, that way, a physical collaboration for a creative side of the business is going to be a big problem to solve. I do not know if we can
Mm.
reach uh, to that problem solving in the next 1 year, but again, that remains as a problem. So that's my foresight and understanding of the current trend. Uh, and yeah, by and large, IT companies, which I have mainly dealt with, will not see a problem even if they allow 100% work from home for an extended period of
Mm.
time. But
Mm.
I personally feel people would select to come back to their office.
Yeah.
Again, that could also be a very demographic thing. It could also be a very, very geographic decision. We'll
Mhm.
again dwell on it a little later as we touch upon some more interesting points.
Yeah. No, in fact, that's an interesting point that you make, Abhijit, because already, you do see offices, at least in India and even Mumbai, ramping up at almost 50% of the attendance because somewhere that physical collaboration is so intrinsic to our DNA as professionals, and that whole element of social engagement as well. So even while the Facebook and Twitters of the world have extended work from home till practically end of this year, and some even announcing it till the end of next of year, but you see they are all operating at some 30 to 50% of the workforce already in office. So I would like to connect the dots and say that probably that's coming from our intrinsic need to collaborate and really engage with people in a more physical way, perhaps. And yes, of course, with that, I would like to pose the next question, which is not a question really, but you as an expert, I'd like you to share with our audience three tips for a sustainable workplace design, which will help address the challenges of today.
Priyanka, I lost you for about 30 seconds. Can you please repeat that? Again,
Sure.
pardon me for the very bad network. I don't know. I
that
think they
that
knew that we have a meeting today.
that's Murphy's law, and trust me, we're all in this work from home mode, and it's absolutely acceptable sometimes to have a not so perfect connection. But yes, coming to the next
I think there you go, right? There you go, right? This is one of the reasons why I think people will come back to work, right? A lot of the Asian countries, I mean, not particularly pointing out to a country, but
hmm,
lot of geographies will actually have inconsistent internet,
hmm,
and they are also in the market to prove themselves to a more mature geography like a US or
yeah,
to the Europe. Um, Africa, countries within Africa will have these problems of inconsistent internet at
hmm,
home. India, for sure, has many regions that has inconsistent internet, even in developed metros like Bangalore, right? There, you'd probably see a lot of power outages, right? So all those are problems well solved in your offices. That's one of the reasons why people would want to come back. Another reason where I really find this very interesting, and not to just mention about the cultural, you know, how the culture has actually, uh, rather, how physical spaces actually nudge us to behave in a certain way, and that
hmm,
becomes a culture by itself. Uh, to give you an example, India has an average Indian house. Uh, Speaking particularly about, I'm from Mumbai, so I specifically speak about Mumbai. It's between a 400 and 1,000 square feet, with
hmm,
multiple generations living in together. Right. Well, while I live alone, uh, there are most of the families have multiple generations that living together in probably like 1,000, 1,100 square
Mm.
feet if they are lucky enough, or the houses actually range between 350 to 1,000 square feet. Having the privacy, that's point one for carrying on your work with complete isolation. Just concentrating on your work and having
Yes,
yeah.
Abhijit, if you could
This
just
is
repeat the last part because we lost you for
Yeah, sure.
5 seconds.
Pardon me for that. Uh, so multiple generations living in together, right? That's one of I'd not say a problem, but that's the fact. That's the condition.
Mm.
Dealing with their way of life while you are working from home. That is, uh, if not an obstacle, if it's a reality, and you'll have to kind of cross that chasm. Second
Mm.
point is the ability to isolate yourself, focus, while you are working from home with
Mm.
inconsistencies like your internet,
Mm.
electricity, all those points, right? The
Mm.
noise that you get from the external environment. Uh, those are generally the cases that almost, I could confidently say at least 70% of people who are now working from home are
Mm.
facing,
Yeah.
right? So that again becomes a reason for them to come back. Versus, let's say, a Central America or Europe, for that matter, where the houses are where the generations are not multiple. You probably have a larger house. At least in Central America, you can afford to have a 1,500 to 2,000 square feet house. That's kind of typical.
Okay.
I'm not really talking about the East Coast, New York side of life, but that's how the life. But that's how the houses are. I mean, even if you have a small house, you probably have lesser people in the house. The infrastructure, the ecosystem is comparatively better,
Mhm.
right? So there, the physical space actually is conducive for you to have an extended work from home, with or without the COVID being in picture. Additionally, I think the maturity to have being work from home has been there for quite some time there, right?
Okay.
Uh, uh, one of the experiences that I had is I was working out of New York for a while, and I had visited my friend in New Jersey, and he had his own room,
Mm.
and he was working from home, and I was attending, I was going to live with him for a day or two, and he messaged me like a couple of days before that. Look, between certain hours, I'll not be available to host you, so don't be offended. I'm just working, right?
Okay.
Although he was upstairs, right? So those kind of differences are really something that
Mm.
it comes with maturity. But then again, with the Indian context, given the infrastructure conditions that we have right now, I think these will nudge for people to come back to work. I think people would want to come back to work. In
Yeah.
India, I could very confidently say that.
No, I quite second that, Abhijit. And also, if I may say so, one of the factors that I have personally experienced is that at home, you're ergonomically not the best supported, So,
Hmm.
for example, just the chair and the height of the desk, So I might be going into a little bit of micro detail here, but simple things like, the seat having a supine support so that you don't end up with backaches at the end of the day. And trust me, working from home has been so much about investing in the right kind of infrastructure at home. Finding a peaceful corner to the height of the desk, to adjusting your laptop monitor, and uh, sometimes there are days when your wrists are aching because it's not the right height. So I have also found ergonomics to be a limiting factor in the work from home mode, and I think you're taken care of on that account, at least when you're working from office.
Yeah, true that. Those are deep sciences, and the world is realizing that these were points that at one point of time nobody would think of, right? Those were taken care of at the back end, from someone like me or a lot of my team members, or the facilities family that I belong to. But these are actually deep sciences. The right height does not allow for or basically reduces the chances of the RSI, repetitive stress injuries, that you would have on your wrist or your neck, right? Even the right color of light, for that matter, right? There are researches that are ongoing which are saying online classes are actually counter conducive to children because of the strain on their eye, right? The the uh, the right color filter, the right color balancing, and can you continue to see at the screen for X number of hours, and then of course you keep doing that. That again, it gives a certain uh, position to your neck, which is not very ergonomic, which is not very healthy. So all those are a factor which you clearly said, but those are easily solvable in my opinion. There are uh, many channels, many mediums where you can get the right kind of height. For example, depending on your height, 700 from the ground to 750 uh, could be the right tabletop height. You can buy the right kind of chair which provides the right lumbar support. You can have the right kind of light which gives you a certain lumens or luminescence with the right color temperature. So these are solvable problems. But then again, at workplace, it goes beyond that, because you also have the right kind of ventilation. You also have the right kind of flooring. You also have the right kind of other ecosystems that are available, right? So it's an amalgamation of multiple things, right? Which are difficult to solve for home, given India does not have a very matured work from home culture. I think, but they are solvable. They are solvable for sure.
I'm sure, uh, and people, experts like you are there exactly to solve some of
Huh.
those problems for us. So
Oh yeah.
Abhijit, yeah, so with that, I want to also ask you, because we just talked so much about challenges. Could you share 3 tips for a sustainable workplace design, which is going to help organizations address the challenges of today?
So you're asking sustainable would mean sustainable in terms of uh, upcycling or the right material to be used, which is more earth friendly, or is it sustainable for COVID? If you can clarify that, I can give you the answer with that
Actually,
context.
I mean, definitely in the current context, sustainable for the pandemic that we are all in the middle of, because you see, the question is really coming in from the fact that every prediction out there nearly states that the world is going to become more and more prone to such pandemics in future. And I do believe that organizations need to be infrastructurally aligned to deal with situations like this. And of course, please do share insights also from an environmental sustainability, because I do believe that's as important a cause as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the fact that ever since the pandemic has hit us, we've all been plastic heavy, right? That kind of
Yeah.
uh, it kind of is a point that we should all be cognizant of.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Having said that, uh, while there, I'm not, I cannot be very confident on to state if there are going to be more pandemics or not. But since it's a research being done independently and that's the conclusion, if one has to go with it, the only way you can solve this problem is through having a real-time technology, which your community, it could be people in your organization, or it could just be the community that you manage.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is able to understand what are the changes that need to happen, right? Secondly, uh, what are the hygiene at a personal, at a hyper personal level
Mm-hmm.
one needs to adopt? Because we have to realize that no matter what kind of, how, however good your facilities management might be, if your hyper personal hygiene, right, is not disciplined, is not good enough, you are going to put people at risk. So trainings around this is going to be very crucial. discipline, imbibing that discipline is going to be very crucial. But specifically speaking about the design element, like I said, I think the point one that we discussed in our conversation today, having the right kind of air ventilation systems,
Mhm.
the right amount of fresh air, the right quality of air, right, which balances certain oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon dioxides and monoxides, right? Uh, the space utilization, bringing in more flexibility to accommodate more collaborative models, so that people do not gather into their personal desks, do not densify that section of the office, but rather use office mainly for collaborations, mainly where people come in for a limited amount of time and then disperse again, right? While maintaining a certain distance, while maintaining a certain personal hygiene. I think those are here to stay.
Mhm.
Those are here to stay. Those will sustain. These design concepts will sustain and be bettered, be improved. There will be more and more innovations around hyper personal hygiene. For example, I would imagine having a UVC, add-on to your phone, where you can just put your UVC
Hmm.
light and just kind of you're disinfecting your personal surfaces, right?
Hmm.
If they do not already exist, it's a good startup idea. So if someone listening to it might just get a
Sounds cool.
get a get a thought around that. But yeah, real-time checks. For
Hmm.
example, there are there are many apps, there are many startups that have started contact tracing apps. China, for that matter, has a very heavy
Mhm.
contact tracing app, right, which is very real time. Um,
Hmm.
you can really know who the person at a certain distance is,
Mhm.
who is not, or the authorities would know if the person should be allowed or not in a
Mhm.
certain type of area. Having said that, within office GPSs, right, uh, inter office GPS networks, uh, you know, uh, contact tracing,
Mhm.
thermal scans, right?
Yeah.
Very discrete thermal scans. They are a more reality in the future. Medical services from your office, all those are going to be are still there, are actually being imbibed by a lot of organizations and will be a part of the future and
Mhm.
continue to be a part of the future. So, but from a very higher level design perspective, I think offices, if one network today, but yeah, coming back to it from a very high level design perspective, if there is one word that can suit the bill, is going to be flexible, right? Not flexible office, but flexible in terms of breaking, making. It'll be like a Lego office. Like
Hmm.
a Lego office can actually be disconnected, disjointed, and then reconnected. In lack of better words, offices will be Lego uh, offices in the future, right? So everything movable, everything turnable, everything amendable.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
what it looks like to me at this point.
Wow, I'm particularly fascinated by the concept of Lego offices. And do you, so
Yeah.
on the last concluding thoughts, Abhijit, and I know you touched upon this already, but really, what is the future of workplace going to be like?
So to be very honest, I have not fixed on a certain strategy. I'm not fixed on a certain strategy at this point. I'm still
Mhm.
observing, but I can describe a certain trend,
Mhm.
which many leaders, corporate real estate leaders, are thinking of. Right,
Mhm.
there is a great opportunity right now in recruiting people from uh, many different cities. Right, cities probably you've not, or places that you've probably not heard of.
Mhm.
Uh, Priyanka, am I audible?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Cities, states, not states rather, but cities, towns that you've not heard of, right? But that's an opportunity.
Okay.
Uh, there will be possibilities of, many corporate real estate, many real estate offices, right? Offices rather, opening up in tier two cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
This could be like imagine it to be like a honeybee comb, right? You have an office, opportunities in tier two and tier three cities, offices opening in these areas, more infrastructure being demanded in these areas.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, you kind of imagine this to be a honeycomb where people, come in for a certain amount of time. Again, more paper use kind of a model, or use as you go kind of model, uh, where people come in, pre-deliberate dates, predetermine for what time they're going to come in, and then kind of book such more spaces. This could also be a co-working model,
Okay.
right? Where people would come in for a certain amount of time, uh, join and then disjoin, go back to their work from home lives. Right. This is one of the models that I see. The other models would be possibly. I mean, I've heard some companies really uh, thinking aloud on this one, where living and working and co-living might actually be a model. uh, that could be a reality. I'm talking about very blasphemic ideas, but which are making rounds, right? Not the usual ideas which all of us know. uh, I think perhaps that was the point of having me on board, but I see such ideas being on roll.
Okay.
uh, uh, Large offices making it to India, the concept of really large offices, uh, uh, the concept of dispersed offices in the same city but in multiple locations,
Mm-hmm.
right? To kind of the suit the flexibilities
Yeah.
for the workforce. These are some of the ideas. Again, I have not fixed my strategy around what works. Again, this completely depends on the organizational DNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also the demography that the organization enjoys.
Mm-hmm.
But these are some ideas that, in my opinion, they have not been concretized as yet, but will see a
Mm-hmm.
concrete structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I'll summarize again. I personally would not be surprised if there is a co-living model in India where organizations are the new residential apartments, are the new where offices are the new residential apartments. You'd have again, it's blasphemic, but it might be true. You'd have a lot of tier two, tier three city advances in infrastructure. Again, once you have real estate there, corporate real estate there, you'd have a lot of residential
Mm-hmm.
pulling. The rates of these places typically would go high. Uh, Within the city, you would find a lot of you could possibly see a lot of dispersed uh, office models where, imagine a stretch of Mumbai, you see something right from South Mumbai to the the extreme suburbs, right? Possibilities of having small offices there, right? These are some of the models that I face. Co-working being possibly a way of life for many organizations that
Mm-hmm.
initially thought that they would never go the co-working way. So these are some of the realities that I foresee.
Wow. That was a very interesting description of the future of workplace, Abhijit, and I have to say that really disruption is the backbone of innovation. So really, I won't be surprised if co-living quite becomes the reality in the next few years. But this has been a very interesting and enriching dialogue, Abhijit. I'm sure there have been some very good takeaways for our audience here, and I want to say thank you for accepting our invitation and making time to be part of this conversation. Any last thoughts?
No, no, no. I just see that the advent of multiple skills, multi-skilled professional, uh, you know, being there, I would not be surprised if in future the HR is actually a program manager, or the facilities expert is actually, uh, the could be a design specialist, right? I see a lot of that. This I don't know when that becomes a reality, but there, that too, again, is a blasphemic topic that I'd like to expound upon. Um, will affect the workplace design. Your
Mhm.
workplace design will not suit, will not be made to suit a larger audience, right? It will be more hyper custom,
Mhm.
although it has to still remain hot desk,
Mhm.
but there'll be a lot more innovations around that. I personally imagine a desk which is actually not laminate or a wooden desk anymore. It could possibly be like a TV screen, horizontal touch screen that just changes shape. When you come in to suit your, to suit your multi-skill abilities. Right
Mhm.
today, you might be solving a facilities problem. Day two, or maybe fourth hours in the office and onward, you are solving a design problem for them, or probably a software problem for them. Right.
Mhm.
So again, yeah, I see that as a reality. To be very honest, when that comes in, I do not know, but I definitely see that as a reality.
Wow. Wow, this seems straight out of some sci-fi movie, and as you were describing it, really,
Yeah,
there were visuals of it running in my
yeah,
mind.
blame it. Yeah, blame it on the Netflix that I'm watching. It's got nothing to do with it.
But really, it's been a very enriching conversation, Abhijit. And just on the hindsight, a note that I would like to add in is that, with this whole pandemic thing, I see that until now, there was really no space for emotions at workplace. And somewhere, I do believe that the new workplace design will sort of have to have spaces which will nurture creativity. It should inspire people and it should energize them. And this becomes all the more critical because people have been through disruptive emotions in the recent past. And most importantly, I think the new workplace will have to sort of build spaces for emotions as well. So that was
Yeah.
my 2 cents on what I would envision the future of workplace to be like. But thank you, Abhijit, for your time and sharing such vast knowledge with us. I'm sure our audience goes back with some very creative, fancy ideas today. And thank you again. And I will also be sharing. If you're comfortable, your contact details. Should anyone want to have a
Oh,
dialogue
please. Please.
with you in person, I'm sure people can benefit from the knowledge. Thanks again, Abhijit, and have a lovely day again.
Likewise, thank you so much for the opportunity, Priyanka. I think you're doing a wonderful, you have created a wonderful platform, and I'm always keen to hear from you, your ideas, your the way you conduct. The content itself is very enriching, and I personally wish you the best of luck. And I'm confident that this is going to turn into something very huge. So congratulations once again.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really humbled, and thanks again for your support, Abhijit. And take care.
Always, always, always.
Bye bye.
Take care of yourself. Thank you once again.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.